Hi, my name is Natalie, and welcome to part 3 of the Brian's Saga Reading Challenge, also known as the Hatchet Reading Challenge that I proposed back in November. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Brian's Winter, which, like I said, is the third book in the series. This video will be both like a little bit of an overview, but mostly a check-in video to see how everyone's doing in completing the challenge and honoring Gary Paulsen. Brian's Winter, as I said, is the third book in the series, but it is not a continuation of The River, which is the second book in the series. It's actually more of a continuation of the first book, Hatchet. I read Hatchet a really long time ago, so I don't remember exactly what happens at the end, although I do know that the plane goes up into the air and he's saved and everything's fine and he's good. They find him. But I don't remember exactly what the cutoff was right before that. But basically, Brian's Winter begins right at before that cutoff. So right before Brian is saved. And that's really important to know because Brian's Winter talks about Brian in that same place, but in the winter time. And it's supposed to be more of a continuation of that story rather than what happened in The River, where he was at a whole separate lake and he was living with somebody else and he was teaching them how to survive in the wilderness. This book is very much more about Brian with the first lake and about the winter time and him surviving through the winter season. And I just feel like that's important to know. Of course, with this being a continuation of Hatchet and not The River, Brian is alone. And that in itself, and being in a lone environment with the wilderness, is very much at the core of this story. Gary Paulsen wasn't originally going to write, I guess, all of these books, but fans were so desperate for more Brian that he continued to write stories, but he didn't write them in the conventional way. He didn't write one book and then the next book's a sequel and then the next book's a sequel after that, like a series. He more so wrote it that it's all of these different stories of different ways that it could have gone down. So like the first book, he was saved. The second book is a continuation of that story, but he goes to a different lake. The third book is more about if he didn't get saved immediately. And then the fourth and fifth book are even different stories than that. They don't follow the conventional series format. And I feel like that's very interesting, especially since we've been calling this a saga. It's very much more a saga and not a series, in that it more takes on this persona of it being different every single book. So it's like you're reading a different way that it could have gone in every single book, which I think is very interesting. I personally did not know that about this whole Hatchet series. I thought it was more like one book was the next, and then the next book, and the next book. I didn't actually even know that there were 5 until I proposed this challenge. So if you like this way of storytelling, perhaps you should look more into Gary Paulsen, because I think he does this a lot with a lot of his other books. And what I think is really cool is he pours a lot of himself into these books. I always find it interesting to read the acknowledgments of the books that I read. I didn't used to do that when I was younger, but ever since I became a writer and I started writing my own books, I thought it was very interesting to learn where authors come from. Gary Paulsen uses a lot of his own life experience in his books, and for the kind of content that's in these books, it's kind of crazy. Like, there's bear, there's deer, there's living in the wilderness with all these crazy things happening to you. And I mean, I can understand completely that someone could survive all these things, but the fact that he lived through each and every one of these situations makes it so that we cannot, as readers, like, disprove his facts, because he was there and he experienced it and he knows exactly how it was. And I just find that to be kind of moving in a way that an author felt that he wanted to share so much of his life experience with us and to show us just how beautiful the human person can be. Because I found that a lot of these Hatchet books are more so about the human person. It focuses a lot on Brian, his internal feelings, and what he notices about the world and his situation. I don't know if it was this book or the next book. I'm pretty sure it was the next one where Brian is struggling a little bit. And I'll be talking about that in a video that's probably going to be coming right after this one. So if you're really curious to learn about the next book, please go check out the next video because I'll be making that. But he very much includes these details about the human person, in that Brian is talking about something that makes him feel a certain way. I know that in The River, he covered a lot about guilt and feeling, very in tune with his emotions and very much, almost angry at the world. And how in this next book that I'm going to be talking about in the next video, how he feels like he can't really fit into society because of what he's been through. And that is a very interesting approach to the human person, one that I have never seen, but one that Gary Paulsen has personally experienced. And I just feel it's very special that we get to read something that this author has actually been through a fictional character. Like, that's so special, especially since I proposed this challenge to remember Gary Paulsen, and that we're actually getting some of his life experiences in his books. I personally find that to be really, really nice. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I really like it when you get to learn a little bit about an author and really see what their life was and why they created something. After all, every piece of art, whether that be a painting or a drawing or a book or even a music, all of it in some way points to its creator. And the creator always has a story to tell, and their soul is a little bit in what they write or what they create or what they design. And I feel that people shouldn't just look past that. And so I hope that by proposing this challenge, you not only have read the books, but you've also come to realize the author behind it, his genius and his creation that he gave us, and the beautiful work of his life that he decided to share. Even though his life may have not been the easiest, he still decided that it was worth sharing with us to show us a bit of a human person that we may not have ever realized was out there. And that's really special, and I hope you guys think it is too. So I would love to hear how you're progressing in the challenge, how everything's going. If you'd like to hear any more about these books, I'd be happy to make like a whole recap once I finish all of them, if that's something you're interested in. If not, that's completely fine too. If you have any book recommendations or anything else you'd like to say, please leave it in the comments, and please remember also in the comments to leave how you're doing in this challenge, because I want to know, and I want to know all of your thoughts and feelings. I hope you all have a great day, and hope you continue to remember Gary Paulsen with me.